Wow. Our amazing sound crew over here told me this morning when I came in, they said, "You will not believe the voice on this woman. She deserves to be in like this big, Carnegie Hall or whatever." And I thought, yes. And I thought, well, then maybe that's why I can hear all the way up from I feel like Cinderella up in my little room up there getting ready my office, and I could hear the beautiful sound of your voice, so thank you so much. Oh. It's August. Did you know that? It's August. And last month, we were being pulled and pushed by a vision and asked to step into that, but what happens sometimes, well, if you run your car a lot, right? If I used to drive back and forth to Arizona a lot, and there's like hills and mountains. What do you got to do when you run your car a lot? Yeah, or get a tune-up. So this month it's called a time to pause. I'm not good at jokes at all. See, obviously, wah, wah, wah. So being awkward will just be our thing.
Reverend Nicole, you should have said, "What does your car and a piano have in common?"
Oh, see, she's got it. She's got it.
Needs a tune-up.
If anybody ever needs a pun, our music director is like very pun-worthy. Very, very punny, sorry. So, this month is a time to pause for guidance. Because when we've been being pulled and pushed by a vision that's greater than ourselves, that we believe in and spend our time and energy focusing our attention on, and then sometimes we get tired. Or I get tired. Did anybody else get wore out sometimes? Yeah, okay. Like, oh my goodness, really? Okay. So we need a tune-up. And when we get a tune-up, we normally, what do they check? They check your spark plugs, right? I have an electric car, so I don't even know if they have spark plugs in an electric car. But, okay, but say we have spark plugs. You want your spark plugs to spark, right? Okay, I have electric battery, but my goodness. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute, but I want my electricity to be full and thriving and flowing and not making me have to stop and miss an appointment because I have to fill up. Are we okay on the sound? Okay. Because I have to fill up on my energy. But that is a good reminder. I really love the philosophy of the Stoics, not to be stoic, like what the Western culture says is a stoic person, but the idea of stoicism, someone who practiced stoicism, well, most philosophers are stoics. And Leonardo da Vinci, he said that simplicity is the grandest form of, oh my goodness. Let's see what it is again. Simplicity is the grandest form of sophistication. Simplicity is the grandest form of sophistication. And when I think about that, I think about how in this philosophy, our philosophy is called the science of mind, or the science of mind and spirit, because that was its original verbiage, the science of mind and spirit. It is a metaphysical philosophy. And all of these words so far may be going over your head, or you might get it. However, it's simple, but it's not easy to practice because it takes an amount of self-reliance and courage and responsibility to our own tending to our minds, to our own tending to our actions that can be exhausting, frankly. It can be easier sometimes, or at least it can be easier. Let's just say it's easier to get caught up in the busyness of life. Have you guys been caught up in the busyness of life? Especially when you didn't have nothing to do for about a year and a half, and now it's like, oh, you can go outside. Did anybody get busy when they could go outside? Yeah, maybe some people. I got busy. What I realize is I know that I need a tune-up when I start to think, why is everything so complicated? I get this feeling inside, why am I bringing 10 bags with me back and forth to church every day, right? Simplicity is the grandest form of sophistication. And then all of a sudden I was inspired just this morning by Reverend Margie Clark over here. She used to be one of the ministers here, senior ministers. And I had asked her, why do you always wear black and white? And then I realized I was wearing black and white. And I said, reflection. I love this moment. And I thought, you know what? Simplicity, the grandest form of sophistication. You always look sophisticated. You always look put together and well maintained, and yet it could be the simplest thing to do is to just wear black and white, you know? Have you ever thought about that? Some of the most beautiful things come from just keeping it simple. So I want to share with you just some of the ways that I go about tuning myself up, and I will play off of Marjorie's map. So Marjorie's map is just, it's not Marjorie's map, but Marjorie shared about the map, which is meditation, affirmation, and prayer, right? That's how we're going to give ourselves a little tune-up. Meditation, affirmation, and prayer. And so I just wanted to share with you a meditation that I've been practicing. It's my most absolute favorite meditation, and it is gardening. I used to have this idea that I couldn't keep anything alive but humans, because I was a respiratory therapist for 10 years in the ER, so I could do that easy. But keeping oh gosh, all the different pets. Not that they died, but it was just quite difficult. So, but look at these. I'm learning to garden, and the fruits of my labor are real for real green beans that are alive, okay? Yes. There's many, many other things, because I don't just do things a little bit. But my kids will say, why are you outside so late? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to be quiet because the neighbors, but I just want to be in this garden. It feels like it's just it is a meditation for my soul. It is food for my soul. And then I have to remember what, Ernest Holmes, the philosopher who created the science mind philosophy, said. He said, quit pulling up quit pulling up the seeds to check and make sure that something's growing, right? Which I have done a couple times, but that's okay, because cucumbers are resilient. But it grows. And the second thing that I love are affirmations. Affirmations have saved my life in so many ways, and so often. And one of the forms of affirmation that I find so supportive, I don't know if you consider this an affirmation or not, but is poetry. And I wondered where I'm pretty good at poetry, if that's, can you be good at something? Yeah. I wondered where I got this idea that poetry was a natural thing for me, until I, just a couple days ago in my office, stumbled across this book. And this book. And this book. This book is called, it's a play on words, called Sanskrit. And it is a book of a collection of writings that my great-grandfather did. He was a newspaper writer in New Jersey after he was a Methodist minister. And then I found this, which he wrote to his wife, my great-grandmother. And this was after she had finally met Ernest Holmes and started to study the science of mind. And so it's beautiful that he was this public figure who had what is this, back in the 50s or whatever, my great-grandfather, 40s and 30s. And yet he set aside all of his desires when she found Holmes. Now, we have a woman here who, I'm sorry to call you out, I won't, point at you, but who shares that she comes from the Christian Science background. And what I wanted to share was with her, with her was that, so my great-grandmother and my great-great-aunt, they're walking in New York City, they find Ernest Holmes, and they say, oh, my great-aunt was a Christian Scientist, and she says, oh, this is that young guy, you know, that Mary Baker Eddy, she helped him for a while there, and it's just interesting. So there's a book of poetry that my great-grandfather Robert Sand wrote to my great-grandmother, and it says, Poems in My Heart. And I just wanted to share one with you because I felt like it was, what a beautiful affirmation of life this was. The poem in my heart, in the quiet of the evening, when the busy day is done, and the songbird hushes their singing with the setting of the sun. I sit in meditation, 'neath the shadow of my tree, listening to the twilight voices in their rhythmic poetry. Inspiration steals upon me while the muses hover near, and my soul breathes deep and long for night's poetic atmosphere. In universal spirit of the cosmic whole, apart, I long to write the poem that is written on my soul. There is a poem in the sunset, a poem in the tree, a poem in the night wind wafting from the distant sea, in the rumble of the storm cloud, in the lightning's vivid gleam, in the pounding of the ocean, in the wild, raining, swollen stream. There's a poem in the night call of the lonely whippoorwill, a poem in the moonbeam, peeping softly o'er the hill. Soul of mine transfigured, lifted from the day world's busy mart, but I cannot write the poem that is written in my heart. For the poem in the sunset and the poem in the tree are the soft reverberation, accents of divinity. And the waves of rhythmic movement, animating Evercloud, are the eminent expressions, the all-transcendent God. It is who writes the poem in the sunset and the tree, touches chords of rhythmic fantasy. In the earthbound soul of me, it is its love you'll find the secret that transcends the poet's art in its poem that is written in my heart. And so I just thought that this was a beautiful reminder and an affirmation of life, that there is a divine something that is always calling to each of us. And when we take a moment to pause and breathe, we can feel it. And there might not be words we can put to it, but we know it. And I think it restores us. It restores us. I had a meeting with a practitioner this week, and we were discussing the trials and tribulations of the mask versus no mask. And it was a funny story because she said, it reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita with Arjuna and Krishna, and he's there and he's got his family on both sides of this battlefield and he's stuck in the middle. And I said, exactly. And I said, and I'm not even going to try and play like I'm Krishna, I'm Arjuna. And I said, and I did that like duck, you know, when Arjuna, I don't know if you've read the Bhagavad Gita, but Arjuna, he sees the battlefield with all of his cousins and his family, and then Krishna comes up beside him. He doesn't know it's Krishna, of course. But, and so he just ducks into the chariot, and he's like, I just want to hide until this all goes away. And that's pretty much how I have felt. And yet Arjuna, Krishna reminds him, he says, but you know that the people here and here, they need you to bring them together. You are the warrior of love. You are the warrior of truth. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with being a warrior. We always feel like we want to be like the enlightened one who's all peaceful and kind and happy all the time, but that's not always me. I mean, I'm happy, but I don't know. I can be kind of sporadic. And but what I do know is that I am a warrior for peace and I am a warrior for love. Love is my language. It is my religion, like Rumi says. Love is my religion. And this philosophy enables me to live in that. And so I just wanted to share with you the third, which is prayer, the third aspect of taking a moment to pause, to get a little tune-up. And I love the prayer that we use in this philosophy. It's called an affirmative prayer. We have lots of words for lots of things. It's called a spiritual mind treatment. It's called a 5-step prayer treatment. It's called spiritual mind treatment. It's a million different things. What it is one thing. It's a knowing. It's a knowing with a feeling and a conviction. So the mind has a conviction, and the body and heart and being feels, and those things come together. And so whatever it is that we're doing, we're always in prayer, because we're always in our thinking, feeling nature, right? And so when I am feeling scattered and I'm feeling like life is very complicated, that is the prayer that I'm expressing, because the universe says yes, right? There's a universal principle that always says yes. It is done unto you as you believe, not as you would like, or not as you would, choose if you could, but as you believe. And so what I choose to do in tuning in is reminding myself that we live in an upward spiral. Have you ever heard about the onion? Like, it feels like there's so many layers of this onion, which is us. I don't like an onion. Onions stink. They make my eyes water. That ruins my makeup. Okay, we're not a freaking onion. We are a beautiful, ever-evolving upward spiral of evolution. Okay? Because when it says there's layers to the onion, it feels like we got more stuff to work on. More old BS, like belief systems that we need to go through. But when we're an ever-evolving upward staircase of consciousness, that's a beautiful, to me, that's a beautiful imagery. And so I was reminded, where was I last year at this time? And I want to invite you to think about it. Where were you last year at this time? Were we open for that split second? So why don't we just take a moment and close our eyes. And we're just going to do a little bit of going inside and just feeling into if life is an ever-evolving upward spiral, if we will always come back to a similar situation, but at a higher viewpoint, at a more evolved idea. Where were we? Emotionally? Where were we spiritually? In this space, I invite you to not judge if you're still in a similar place, because that's the point. It's the spiral means we'll always come back to it. Transmuted, transfigured, different, but the same. You can open your eyes if you'd like. I was reminded of a song. There's an artist that I really love. I love to listen to conscious music. Do you guys listen to, do you guys know about New Thought music or conscious music or anything like that? So there's different forms. There's like a People will say what they want to about us millennials, but we've got a really good underground conscious music thing going on here. And there's a man named Trevor Hall, and last year this time, he came out with an album called In and Through the Body. And so it was at this time last year when I was really feeling into these lyrics. It's a song called Open Doors. And he says, he's like just taking a moment to proclaim his truth, because he has anxiety and depression and different things. He says, all of my doors are open. I've got a full moon in the sky. I'm leaving that darkness broken. I'm blowing smoke rings out of my mind. Like he's clearing out his mind. Calling on all that's wild. Pages have been turned. I'm going to reach into my fire and let that old way burn. And that's what I want to invite us to do. In this time for pausing, this time for tuning up ourselves, I want us to take that warrior status, that stance that says, hey, I am here, and the place I stand on is holy ground because I am a being of divine intelligence. I am God incarnate, and what that means to me, this word God might be ambiguous, but it means that I am love, I am light, I am truth, I am beauty. Tell me what you are. Say, I am. You are what? Yes, say, I am. Just shout it out. What are you? Keep going. I know you're a lot more than that. Infinite possibilities. Affirm it. And what does your mom say? No. What does your mom say? Divine order. Isn't that what she says? I'm asking her what her mom says, then I'm correcting her. She says, divine love or divine order is established. Okay? So divine order is established right here because you proclaim it to be true and so. Yes? Yes. Okay. And so we're going to do a tune-up, and we're going to ask ourselves these questions. We're going to say, where am I making my life more complicated? And why? Once we know the why, we can move through it. And then you call a practitioner, you go see the minister, you go hang out with people, you read a book, you do something, and it gives you a little tune-up. You listen to some music, Trevor Hall. So I'm just going to close with prayer really quick. Oh, so I just recognize and know that right here and right now, this is our divine tune-up for this vessel that is the body. What an expression of the good it is. What an expression of a divine intuition, a divine intelligence that says, yes, I want to experience life by means of everyone who can hear my voice. How good it is to know the truth. That no matter what I might be thinking or feeling or seeing or saying or doing, that there is that great good that is within me that resides there and is stable and sturdy. It is that warrior queen. It is that mother, father God who collides within me, within each of us, at the center of our being that lights our world on fire. How grateful I am to know this truth, to have this beloved voice here, to have these beloved beings here who come together by divine timing, by order, by a structure. Out of chaos comes structure. I know this is true. And so I give my word to that infinite law of mine that always says yes. It is done unto you as you believe, yes. This is what you desire, yes. Yes, thank you, more, please. And so it is.